Welcome back to the channel. Tune in or go stout. So today I saw something that reminded me that work is not really even going to be a thing in the next 10 years. I saw a Amazon delivery drone fly over my car today. Apparently they just started testing these out in my local area in Georgia, and seeing one in operation scared me more than it should have. While it was cool that like you could get, I think it was like 20 pounds worth of groceries, or for me it'd probably be like a pizza, brought to you by a drone to your doorstep, is pretty insane. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's not cool. And while it's been talked about for a while now, actually seeing it happen is kind of crazy. But it made me think, where do we draw the line? When do we say, well, a person should be doing that? Because in my head, I wonder how far things like Waymo or drone delivery or like robots on the Amazon warehouse will go. And I think that's where maybe my view of the world disconnects with a lot of people's. Where is all this innovation going, and what's the point? I've always been optimistic that as some pathways close, new ones will open up, but I'm repeatedly seeing that we're facing the same problems every time we close off certain lanes or try to transition from things in our current world. The power that used to be just can't let the transition be smooth and lead to innovation. Instead, they have to pervasively control every aspect of our economy to crash it when they feel like it's time to go down. And that's exactly what this time period feels like to me. I'm seeing innovations and automation take over every sector of the job market, but I'm not seeing any attention paid to the average worker's life. Instead, I see fake calls to the working class that come in forms of
bring back manufacturing,
open up the coal mines,
unban child labor,
take away our worker rights.
Every time we talk about the working class and wealth inequalities and just how people are fading into the depths of society, it always somehow ends up with a Fed taking over the conversation and saying that, well, we should start stripping worker rights away. American labor just costs too much. Costs too much for who? We are back to where we were with FDR, where the worker needs a new deal to make working seem worth it. But instead of building on the platform that FDR started, we are somehow trying to undo everything. I always found it funny that Trump tweeted out the 50-year mortgage with a picture of FDR's 30-year mortgage as some type of improvement. But it just shows how far we've gone from a leader who's willing to try new things to one who's just willing to push the status quo a little bit further. And this talk about FDR comes out of left field when you have modern day problems that they never had back then. The reason they don't account for men that don't work was because when they even made the stat that tracked unemployment, there were no men that weren't working. And if they weren't working, they were looking for a job. Times were so dire that a man unemployed was a man starving. Fast forward now, and approximately 30% of all jobs are fake ghost jobs. And as the stock market has been booming since 2022, we've seen wages decline at a faster pace than ever. But when you search this topic up, they will gaslight you and say, well,
the top earners are getting wage raises.
But what about the average person? What about the person who's not able to be a scientist, who's not able to get the specialized position, the person who's just trying to get a start, an entry-level job, if you may? Well, those same people are usually the ones that have the most debt, are the most unexperienced and underqualified in their fields, since it is an entry job. And when you have the big money look at this problem and see a solution, they always come to the conclusion that we just need to automate and eliminate these jobs and they'll just find riches somehow. I always find it weird when Elon Musk says that we are going to eliminate poverty and that AI is going to introduce a new freedom for everybody that we've never seen. This sounds like the same talk people were having after the New Deal was passed and said, wow, a 40-hour work week is going to give so much people free time. How are they going to spend their boredom? Fast forward now, people aren't bored, they're desperate. People have more rights, but they're chained to debt more than ever. They want you to blame the immigrants, the H-1B visa workers, the women, everybody but the people in power. An immigrant never put tariffs on my products. A woman is not the one that automated your job. And when companies get that note to lay off workers, it's not coming from your manager. It's coming from his supervisor, and his supervisor is hearing it from the CEO. What is going on is quite literally an attack on the working class disguised by innovation and progress. Why does the AI and automation not take the CEO's job or the CFO's job or the company president's job? As AI gets more capable of handling larger data sets and more complex problems, why are these things not happening? Why is it always the mid to entry level corporate jobs that get automated? And when companies see the negative effects of AI and they lose $40 billion, like in the case of Klarna, why does the CEO not get fired for implementing bad changes? The only effects that are seen are employees that lose ability to make livelihoods based on these bad changes. And as things get worse, it scares me that now is the time that we're choosing to take away benefits from everybody else. Just like anyone else, I can admit that America has a debt problem. It is sitting at probably 39 trillion right now. But I also see where a lot of this reckless spending comes from. While they like to paint it as just as a working class problem who's using too much SNAP and insurance, they never mention 40 billion to Argentina, or 90 billion to Israel, or even 145 billion to Afghanistan. And how would you tell the public this? How would you explain to your people that you've gone around spending billions of dollars all around the world on failed wars just to come home and tell them that they don't deserve healthcare because they're lazy EBT queens? You can't. Just in the same way you can't explain how you're going to keep telling people to get up, stop being lazy, and get a job when a humanoid robot is doing that job that they used to apply for. At least set the kids up for the future. That's the thing that's scaring me the most. I will see some comments of people who are currently in high school or are about to enter college, and some of the things they're doing are some of the stuff that like my age people were doing back then. I remember when I was going to high school, we had like an automotive class where they would let you work on cars, but it was never like electric cars. It was regular modern gas cars. And even at that time, it wasn't setting you up for the future. It was just what was current right now. But currently we're at a pivotal moment where if you set people up for the future, you won't have to import these workers. You won't have to do the things that we're currently turning to. But updating the American school curriculum has never been a priority. Finding ways to get enrollment in colleges has never been a priority. That one gets me really mad. I see the young men of today asking, should I go to college? Should I do this? And the answer in an ideal world would be yes, you should go to college. You should get more education. You should learn more skills. But then you look at the reputation of the colleges, plus the price of the colleges, and what everybody assumes happens at college, and the answer is a resounding no. And the amount of worthwhile degrees are hitting rock bottom. You could go to school for computer science and you would end up like a lot of these YouTube videos where they're unemployed in the same career field. And these people aren't slow. Like, these are smart minds that are just unable to go anywhere. A shrinking entry-level job market mixed with an influx of cheap labor, automation, and predatory management teams that benefit from you working China-style shifts. The question is never, are you going to be burnt out? It's just, how much are you willing to take before you reach that point? The person who just went unemployed and is using DoorDash or Uber Eats to make up his missing wage, what happens when Waymo replaces that? Some people say this is unskilled labor and it doesn't matter, but just like everything else in life, boomers had a chance to fail up, while everybody in modern day just gets to fail. They're actively taking lifelines away. The rates of homelessness amongst men are skyrocketing, and the prospects of men who stay in the workforce just get lessened as the time goes by. But this so-called inflation that never will go away has just cemented how deep this divide will be. People point to a future of UBI, but how much do we have to go through before the conversation even gets talked about? The last time we even heard of UBI was from Andrew Yang, and that was like 3-4 years ago. And fast forward now when we're talking about taking healthcare and SNAP away. I'm not sure what the answers are. We've talked of solutions in other videos, but at the end of the day, there's a structural problem at hand. The false reality of trickle-down economics needs to start catching up to what people say it should be, or we're going to need bigger, more sudden change to actually happen. This problem that we are faced with will ultimately decide the fate of the country. While a lot of things matter, and while we have a bunch of other problems at hand, if people have money to spend and they have security in their lives, we can talk about those problems. But when people go without food, when people are not sure where they're going to be sleeping, and when they are kept up at night by their expenses, it will only worsen the problems. Milestones that adults were hitting, like having children, having their first home, or even setting money aside to invest, will all be delayed, or they'll start happening when it doesn't frankly matter. Marry your wife at 38, buy your house at 40, get IVF to have a baby by 45, and live long enough to send them to college and leave them with your mortgage. This is the future that we're facing if things don't change soon, and frankly, that's what scares me at the end of the day. The same AI that's replacing you and making people go psychotic is somehow the same thing that's going to solve all our problems. I don't know. AI is not getting me a girlfriend anytime soon. But what do I know? Just an unemployed guy playing Call of Duty, sharing my opinion. If you agree or disagree, let me know down below in the comments. I do read the comments. What are you banking on to fix our future? Some people are banking on AGI, and some people just think that automation will make work cost less, so everything will be cheaper and it'll fix and deflate a lot of things. I'm curious to hear what you think, but if you haven't already, like and subscribe to join the thread. And with that being said, thank you for tuning in. Until next time.